everyone, and welcome back to my channel, and welcome to my, what month is it? July/August reading wrap-up. Hey everyone, so remember in June when I did my July TBR and I rolled that I was going to read 10 books? Yeah, that didn't happen. I read a lot in the beginning of the month, and then I got very busy, and then I started grad school, actually, in July. Well, it was like almost August by that point, but it was technically July. So I didn't do much reading in August either. So I've basically been spending the last 2 months trying to get through the 10 books that I said I was going to read in July. Fun fact, I haven't even done that. But I decided to just go ahead and talk about the 6 books that I have read, and then for September, I will be finishing the 4 books left on that list. And if you want to know what those books are, you can skip to the end, because I'm just going to combine the 2 videos, because I don't really see the point of making another dedicated TBR since I technically did that for July. Okay, anyways. So I did read 6 books over the course of the last 2 months. A fair amount of them were on audio or anything, because, I do have been busy. Literally, I just woke up. I have so much to do today. I'm getting a tattoo today, which, as you can see, I have many. This is my 11th one. But I was worried that if I slept in, I would miss my appointment, which isn't even till 1, but, Also, my cat was, screaming, because, he's starving and I abuse him. So that's how my life's going. Let's talk about books. So, at the beginning of the month, I participated in the Sapphic-thon, which I did mention in my TBR, that's hosted by Jesse over at Bowties and Books. I did pick out 3 books for the marathon. I only read 2 during the actual marathon, and the third one I read later on in the month. The first one that I read was You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson, and this one was a 5-star read for me. I loved this book. It was so just endearing and sweet and just feel good. I loved the writing. I loved the dialogue. Sometimes when I read teen books or books about teens now that aren't fantasy, that are contemporary, especially as an adult, it's a little cringe. Sometimes you can tell that the author is trying to write teens they think that teens talk. And teens, they are, some of them are cringe just by nature of being teens. But when I read Bag with Perfect Faces, which I talked about in May, in that first wrap up that I did, I talked about how the dialogue was very bleh. This one didn't feel like that. This one was so feel good. I loved it. So this one, we are following a young black girl named Liz, and she wants to go to Pennington College and play in their orchestra, but she doesn't get financial aid, and so she can't afford to go. And then it turns out that the school that she's going to gives scholarships to the people who win Prom King and Queen, because they're just obsessed with prom. They also live in a small town, Indiana, so you can guess how that's gonna go. And so she decides to run for prom queen. And she ends up falling in love with one of the other prom queen contestants. And it's very cute, it's very endearing. It's a quick read. I mean, it's short, just a little over 300 pages, and it's YA, so it's a quick read. Would highly recommend. I know she has another book out. Did it just come out? Or I know she has another book out that I'm definitely going to read because I really loved her writing. So yes, 5 stars from me for this one. The second book that I read for the marathon, it's probably gonna... Okay, hear me out. So I read The Space Between Worlds, and I pretty much DNF'd it. And here's why. So, I loved the concept of it. Like, multidimensional, interdimensional travel is so cool to me. I love sci-fi, I love fantasy. I said that before on this channel, you probably know that already, but I do love those genres more than pretty much any other genre in the world. Obviously I was excited for the queer aspect of it. The world building concept was super cool. Basically the concept is there are parallel universes, and certain people have the ability to travel between them, but you can only travel to a world where that version of yourself is already dead. Like, there can't be two of you on the same world. So Kara, our main character, is dead on 372 worlds, which is a lot. So she ends up going to a lot of different worlds for different missions because she can. And then she ends up on a world where there's a version of herself that's alive. And so that obviously leads to a lot of issues. And then there's a murder mystery, and the concept is very good. I just, for whatever reason, I could not get into it. And I can't find the words to explain why, because the writing was good, the world building was good, the characters were good, the concept I really liked, but for whatever reason, it just wasn't sticking with me. And it got to the point where I was reading it, and it was like a chore. Like, I felt obligated to finish it because it interested me so much. But at a point, I just had to be like, this isn't for me. So I DNF'd it. I'm not going to get rid of it yet. I may come back and I may try to read it again at some point in the future and see if it was just like I was off that day or something. Because it really did intrigue me. So I'm not going to say don't read it, because a lot of people really like this book. It just wasn't vibing with me when I read it. Speaking of books that didn't vibe with me, or anyone else, from what I can tell, let's talk about The Maidens. Yeah, I read this book in July. This is a book that I will be giving away into the trash. No, that I won't do that. I'll just donate it, because, I don't. So this is the same person who wrote The Silent Patient, which I also haven't read, but apparently that one's better, so I'm probably going to read that one. I was a little off-put when I read this one, because I was like, should I read The Silent Patient? But people praised that one a lot more than they did this one, so I will probably pick it up in some capacity. So this one is a dark academia book. We are following a woman named Mariana, who is a group therapist, group psychologist, and her niece's friend is murdered at their school, at Cambridge. And everyone suspects this professor, Fosca, who is this, really, he's got a lot of women who look up to him, so I'm just gonna leave that there. And so Marianne becomes obsessed with Fosca and is convinced that he's murdering these people, and then it's a murder mystery. So I give this book 1 star, as I know a lot of people also did. If you want a really good review of it, Jesse from Bow Ties and Books did a Waste My Time video dedicated to this book that I will link below and would recommend watching, because their opinions basically align with mine. So if you want to know what I thought, just go watch that video. But also, there were just some things in this book that, from a personal level, I was like the fact that Edward Fosca is this older man, and he's got a bunch of girls that he's meeting with, and he's grooming them. He's grooming these girls, and nobody at the university bats an eye. They're like, I was like, sir? Jail time is what the people in this book deserve. Mariana, I hated her as a character. There were some things that she did in the book with her patients that she helps, and I was like, look, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a doctor, but I feel like that's not legal. Or that's not proper etiquette. Just, no. No. This book, into the trash, where it belongs. So, luckily, the last 2 books that I read were all very good, which was very nice because I was a little worried. So the next book that I read was Sorrowland by River Solomon. This is a gothic magical realism novel, is the best way that I can describe it. This is following a character named Vern who escapes from a essentially a cult. I mean, it is a cult. She escapes from a cult. And as she's pregnant, she ends up giving birth to twins and wants to raise them basically in the wilderness, away from both the cult and the regular world. And she's obviously being hunted by the people who she ran away from like just the wilderness, you know, and all that. And so it's a story of survival. There is a little bit of like gothic horror, realism, magical elements to it. Her body goes through these changes that she can't really understand or explain, and that's kind of the catalyst. Sorry, my cat is climbing all over everything. And so I gave this book 4 stars. Well, 4.5. I really loved it. This is also a queer novel. River Solomon is non-binary, I believe. Yeah, Vern is queer. So there's a lot of representation, which I really liked. I gave this book 4.5 stars only because I love this book. It was so good. But again, this is just like a personal thing for me. I get really like put off by body horror. Like, it's like the one horror trope that I just like, ugh. I just can't do it. And there's a good amount of that in this. It's not, I don't want to say it's not super graphic, because some people it could be really graphic, and some people it could be not graphic at all. But for me, it was just a little like, so I'd have to like skip paragraphs just because I was like, I don't like it. So I took off half a star for that, which again is solely just a me thing, nothing to do with the actual writing or characters or plot of the book. It was just me. It was just me. So then I read The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. I read this on audio. This was one of the 2 books that I read on audio in the last 2 months, even though I also have the physical copy, but, you know, I was, like, running out of time to read books. So this book is a book about 2 twins, and they grow up in a southern black community, and later on, as adults, one of them has embraced their blackness and still lives in that same town, and the other one is passing for white. And so it explores their lives, how they remain intertwined despite their like physical division, and then it also explores, you know, their own children, their own daughters, and their stories and how they intersect. So this book I gave 4.5 stars. I really liked it. I loved the characters. I loved the concept of it. I loved the exploration, the exploration of race and identity, and how that impacts us growing up, and like this concept of passing that obviously I cannot ever understand because I am a white person. But I do like reading books about people that are not white. Because I feel like it is important to have as much worldly knowledge as one can, especially in these times. So I really liked it. 4.5 stars. Would recommend. Last book that I read was, I think, my favorite read of the last 2 months, which was The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I also read this on audio. Again, I also have the physical, which I will definitely be rereading because this was a 5-star. I love this book so much. So this book, we are following Evelyn Hugo is a Hollywood star who rose to prominence in the 50s, and she had been very reclusive about her private life. And Monique is a journalist, and Evelyn asked her to write her story, which surprises Monique. And so Evelyn, this story is told both through present day and flashbacks to Evelyn's actual life, and we learn about her 7 husbands, as the title gives away. So, and we learn about, her career, her ambitions, her loves, her forbidden love. Ooh. Because this was the 3rd book that I was going to read for the Sapphic-thon. So, spoiler alert, there's some sapphic love, and it made me feel really good. And it's a period drama. Well, it's set in the modern day and then it's set in the past, so it's like half and half. But I just loved the world building. Oh, is it world building? It's like, it's the real, but it's, you know what I mean. The characters, the people who narrated this audiobook were so good. It was, fantastic on that end. The love stories, all of them, even like the husbands, and everything else were just so well done. All the characters, like, I was crying listening to this audiobook. I was like, this shit is sad. It was so good. The atmosphere of it in the past with like early 1950s to 1980s Hollywood. As a film student, it was really cool to like have a book kind of centered around that aspect of it. 5 stars, just really good. So those are the 4 books that those are the 6 books that I read over the last 2 months. If you want to know what I'm reading for September, hopefully, here's what I'll be reading for September. First, I'll be reading, I don't have this in physical yet, but I'm going to be reading Upon a Burning Throne. I don't have it in the physical, but I will get it and then I read it. I'm also going to read The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang and The Vanished Birds by Simon Jimenez and All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. If you want to know more about those books, I did talk about them more in depth in my actual July TBR video where I pulled them for the first time. So I'm going to read those for September and then start doing like more newer, well, no, they're not newer, they're newer to me books in October and beyond. Hopefully, we'll see, because my semester for school starts, well, when you're watching this, probably already started, but it starts on Monday for me, and it's Saturday, so we'll see how busy I am. But yeah, thanks everyone for watching. Sorry this is so late. Sorry this is a little short. Honestly, some of these books, some of these books I read like 2 months ago, so trying to talk about them, I was like, I don't know what I was I don't remember what I liked about them. I should start taking notes on these books. Yeah, let me know what books you're reading. I'm also doing more videos on this channel. I'm reacting to Marvel's What If, so watch that. And yeah, that's exciting. So, woohoo. My cat is cleaning himself right off camera. That's a little disgusting. Yeah. Alright, thank you everyone for watching. I will see you all next time. Goodbye.